This is a big update for international students and migrants. Labour has won the recent Australian federal elections. International students and migrants were being treated as scapegoats. International students and migrants were being treated unfairly during the recent Australian federal elections. Alright, hello, welcome back to another video on this channel. Firstly, apologies for not uploading last week. It was a very hectic week. Just things at work were ramping up and just didn't get time to upload a video, which is very surprising because for the past 4 months at least, I've been really consistent and I've been getting a lot of love from all of you. So a big thank you for everybody who reaches out on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, wherever, shows the support, watches the videos, likes and sends in a comment as well. If you haven't subscribed, a lot of you haven't subscribed yet, and each and every subscribe goes a long way. Without further ado, let's get into the topic of today's video. Recently, the major Australian federal elections took place. During the whole, campaigning and rallying, international students and migrants and immigration in general was talked a whole lot by both parties, and not just by both Labour and Liberal parties, but by each and every party. I mean, people were getting messages, how message campaigns work, right? People were local Australian citizens were getting messages that, oh, we'll cut immigration by 80%, 70% if you vote for us. And this strategy was being implemented by a lot of other parties as well. But just to give you a little bit of an overview, there were two major parties competing in the Australian federal elections. One was Labour, one was Liberal. Labour was the party that has been in power for the last 3 years, and the candidate that was representing Labour was Anthony Albanese. You might have seen his photo somewhere or the other if you are researching about studying in Australia. And the candidate that was standing up from Liberal was Peter Dutton. He was also called in a couple of articles as Australia's Donald Trump because he had some really wild statements around immigration, around students, around migrants in general.
Money out of infrastructure. At the same time, it's going to have an impact. So we have to have a managed migration program, and our argument is...
And from the looks of it, from what we were hearing from the different conversations and discussions that were happening and the statements that he was making, that he was very against immigration and how the Labour government, which was in power, how they've dealt with immigrants, how they've dealt with migrants, and not from treating them. See, Australia is a very safe country. Not from particularly treating them, but from particularly allowing so many individuals post-COVID to come in. So to give you a perspective, post-COVID, post-2022, the party that has been in power for the last 3 years has been Labour. So all the people that have been able to come in, work, study, make up their lives is because of the Labour government. As you might know, the number of students that have come in post-2022, post-COVID has been at a record high. I was reading a post where, especially from India, we've seen record numbers of students coming to Australia for, their bachelor's, master's, PhD, etc. So basically, while they were campaigning, while they were rallying, Peter Dutton, who was representing Liberals, was really against immigration, and some of the statements he made was really, made me afraid of what my future would look like in Australia. It might have made your future, your decision a little uncertain as well if you were following the election. But fortunately, happily, Anthony Albanese, which is the candidate who was representing the Labour government, they won the elections with majority government, which is really good. But that doesn't mean that it's going to be a free hand when it comes to immigration. Because we've seen record numbers in the past 3 years, there are going to be tightening the screws a little bit on immigration, and that's what this whole video is about. Watch it till the end because I've included a lot of talking points, a lot of things that have been coming up in the recent discussions and during campaigns as well. I have my notes in front of me, and I think I'm uploading this video today, which is 12th of this video will be going out tomorrow or day after tomorrow. But new immigration officers and ministers will be coming into office by next week. So these policies are, we assume, are going to be put into place. So nothing is in place right now, but this is something that was talked about during campaigns, during rallies, and is most probably going to come into play. First thing that I'm going to talk about is the planning level. So Australia, every budget, every financial year comes out with a planning level, comes out with the number of permanent residencies that it's going to offer. For 2024-2025, it was at 185,000 places across Australia. And what they are saying is that this is the number for 2025-2026 is going to be somewhat similar because it's still Labour government. They're going to work according to the numbers and the policies they had set in the previous tenure. So that means that they're going to change up the numbers a little bit here and there, but somewhat the policies and the vision they had when they were putting these policies into place is going to be the same. But the final split, which is of the 185,000 places, is going to be between family and skilled visas, which is still going to be decided. Something that came up in a lot of discussions and campaigns was also that they're likely going to see a significant increase in the number of employer-sponsored visas, which is the visa 186, because the demand from employers is really high and the current system that is there is struggling to keep up. They really need people to be working in their own occupation. And if somebody is getting 186 visa, which is technically a permanent residency visa, via an employer, that means that they're going to work under that employer for either 2 or 4 years, which means that they're going to work under their occupation. There were a lot of reports by Masters Building Association of Australia, so something to do with construction management and architects, and the Masters Building Association, as you can get from the name of the organization, is that a lot of people in suggested occupations around building, be that construction management, civil, architects, are actually not working in their own occupation. So I think that's why they're focusing more on employer sponsored visas so that people actually work in their own occupation. Secondly, because of the focus of the 186 visa, it might mean that some places out of the 185,000 are cut from the skilled independent 189 visa. So if I tell you, technically there are a lot of visas that give you PR, but if you're coming through the normal route, which is student visa, then work visa, and then working and then applying for your PR, there's one visa called 189 which is given to you by the federal government of Australia. Then there's 190/491 that is given to you by the state that you're in. So let's say right now, my occupation, which is marketing, I'm not eligible to apply for 189 visa because people who are in the priority list, whose occupation is in the priority list, only they can apply for 189 visas. So my occupation, which is marketing, is not in 189, so I can't even apply for 189. On the other hand, because my marketing occupation is in the PR list, is in the SOL list of South Australia, that means that I can apply for a state-sponsored visa, which is visa 190 or 491. All states have their own 190 and 491 visas, whereas 189 is just through federal government. So that means if they're focusing more on employer-sponsored visas, we might see some cuts in the 189 visa. Another thing around 189 visas, this is for everybody who especially chooses a degree or whatever they want to pursue according to what is in the SOL list, what is in the priority list. There is most probably going to be a revamp, a new point system, which is expected sooner rather than later. So that means the current standard, the current metrics of how points were calculated, that might not be the system in place when you may apply for a visa in the coming 3 years. There's no expected date, but the Labour government has definitely talked about this particular point. Another major update that will affect everybody who might be watching this video, because you might be watching this as a potential student who's going to be applying for a student visa for February 2026, is that the student visa application fees increasing from $1,600, which is the current amount, to $2,000. Right now anyways, at $1,600, Australia is a country that charges one of the highest amounts for student visa processing fees, and that is now even going to increase to $2,000. So as you can see, they're trying to cut the number of students coming in. So the agent you apply your student visa through, the financials you have, the profile that you have, the university, the institution you're applying your visa through will become ever so important, because they're anyways trying to cut the number of people, the number of students that are trying to come into the country through the traditional student visa route. Another law that they're going to keep implementing is to prevent students from switching courses. As you might have watched previous videos, I always say do not switch courses when you come to Australia, because the opportunity cost of you switching courses or trying to switch courses is your visa getting cancelled, because the government has been picking up on particular states, especially from India, that do this. We all saw the news where some restrictions were put into place from especially people from Gujarat, Haryana, Punjab and multiple states from India, because they were seen to go against their visa conditions, maybe work even more than the allotted 48 hours per fortnight, or even change courses. So that is something that they'll continue to implement. This video is also for those people who have applied for a family visa, for a parent visa as well. For those of you who have not watched this video, watch this video where I've talked about how you can actually get your parents to Australia. But as I mentioned in that video as well, there's a significant time period, a backlog basically of files of applications, where if I apply for my parents' visa, there's a wait time for 15 plus years. Imagine paying around 50 to 60 grand, as I mentioned in this video, and then wait 15 plus years for a permanent residency, for a permanent visa for your parents. So there are going to be measures to reduce that timeline, hopefully, that they have mentioned, in their talks, in their discussions. Another thing is that how I was talking about the 190 and the 491 visa. So what the 491 visa means is that 491 visa has a tenure of 5 years. And after 3 years on a 491 visa, you can apply for a 191 visa after 3 years of being on 491 visa, which then means that you get the grant of your permanent residency. But the wait times of getting a 191 visa has been really long as well, which doesn't make sense, because technically when you get your 491 visa, that means that you've gotten your PR, but you just have to wait 3 years for then to apply for an official PR, which is 191 visa. Now don't quote me on those terms. This is me, a third person, giving you this sort of information in easy to understand language. This is not how a migration agent would put all of this across, but this is just me giving you information on how I perceive it and how you may like to perceive it as well. So those were the points that I wanted to mention in this video. I hope this video added value, and this was also just to give an update, sort of a good news, that Labour government has come back into power. So everybody who's coming now or is applying for permanent residency now, it might be a good time for you to apply and get your permanent residency while the Labour government is in power. Yes, migration levels are really high and they're trying to reduce it, but with Labour government in power, I feel that it can be a more structured approach that they're going to implement while they're in power, to reduce the numbers but also get quality people into Australia and give permanent residencies to people who are actually working their occupations and adding value to the economy altogether. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me anywhere or in the comment section down below. I promise to be consistent this week and the coming weeks. If you want me to make videos on any particular topics, let me know. I'm already planning some videos, not podcasts, but short videos, like 10-15 minute videos with people who are already working in their occupations and asking them how they got their jobs, what a new student should do, so that it gives you a 101, a blueprint, a pathway to get your full-time job when you're here in Australia and after you've finished your studies. If you have any questions, again, reach out wherever, and I'll see you in the next one.